My name is Dr. Dai O'Brien. I'm the Senior Lecturer in BSL and Deaf Studies here at York St John's. I'd like to tell you a bit about a couple of recent publications of mine. These papers, like all of my recent research, explore the ways in which deaf people live in the world and how we navigate through the spaces in our everyday life. This is not something that most people need to think about, as their sensory and bodily orientations are usually in tune with the way in which their environment is designed. And this is because most architects and designers are not deaf or disabled, and that affects their designs for different environments to match their own experiences of being in the world. But what happens when your own bodily and sensory experiences are different to those for which specific environments are designed? That is the experience of many deaf people, not simply because they can't hear, but also because they have a much more visual experience of the world. In this case, features of the environment can have very different properties than that for which they were designed. A very simple example is the window. For people who work in the oral-aural modality, that is through spoken languages, a window still offers some measure of privacy because sound will not pass through the window very well. However, for people who work in the visual-spatial mode, that is through sign languages, the window offers no privacy at all because their signing is clearly visible. Conversely, whereas a window can be a barrier to spoken language and be a negative, the use of signed language means people can communicate with other signing people easily through windows and over large distances due to the visual modality of the language, a real benefit for deaf people. So the ways in which design features such as windows or lack of them, room designs which restrict or control lines of sight, and the channels through which information is spread, visual or sound-based, all affect deaf and hearing people in different ways due to our differing sensory orientation. My recent research has looked at the experiences of signing deaf people who navigate the social and physical spaces of their workplace, and also how they are or are not able to orientate themselves to these spaces. Of course, these workplaces are mainly designed and produced with hearing, speaking people in mind. My research gave me many insights into the ways in which deaf people resist these hearing norms and modify their own spaces to make them more deaf, such as changing their room layout to make them more visually orientated. Also petitioning their workplace managers to provide information through visual and not auditory channels, and also how they mark their spaces as deaf in different ways by prioritising visual elements over auditory ones. My work has also found different ways in which deaf people manage their relationships with hearing colleagues, through either minimising disruption and blending into the hearing norms of the workplace, or making sure their presence and identity is marked by being uncompromisingly deaf in public spaces, and the emotional labour and professional costs associated with each of these two options. If you'd like to know more, please get in contact.